let's be honest. You're tired of seeing him win, right? I mean, he's gotten his titles. It's time for somebody else, right?
Well, it is. And Andy's a great coach. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. But I can say, hey, we're out to win. You know, we're not here to make friends.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Mike Catalana along with Dan Fates. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We are here in Indianapolis.
The center of the football universe this week.
We love this week. I love Combine.
Football, coaches, football guys in St. Elmo's.
Yeah, food. That is Tuesday night for us.
It's tomorrow.
Yes.
Tuesday, depending on when you're watching.
Tuesday for us. Dinner at St. Elmo's. Hey, come on, it's a thing when you come to Indy. So part of this is looking at the prospects, hearing from the players. They go by different groups. But part of this is also a bit of a catch-up with the coach and the general manager, so we get that. It'll be Brandon Beane, and when that interview is complete, you'll see that here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. And on Monday, it was Sean McDermott. We had a chance to talk to him. Now, Dan, one of the big things, he was asked right away about running the defense this year. Who's calling the plays, and what did he say?
Classic Sean McDermott. What did he say? We're continuing to look into it.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll kick that can down the road is pretty much what he did.
Yeah.
Classic Sean McDermott.
It's kind of what we thought he would say.
It's absolutely what we all thought. We were hoping that there would be some answer, but it's classic Sean McDermott.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want whoever they're playing week one to get a head start on who's calling plays.
Hey, a year ago, we were right here when they announced that Leslie Frazier wasn't coming back. So think of what has happened in that coordinator position. Sean took over. I think he really enjoyed his role as a play caller. There's no question. But it's a lot on his plate at the same time, and he has a lot of faith in Babbage. And now it's also Joe Brady as his offensive coordinator full-time.
Yeah, and it's often we talk about change. I think a lot of our viewers and subscribers, make sure you subscribe. We're closing in on 30,000. They want change. They want change to affect things, and that some people think that you're afraid of change if you don't make change. But I think that the changes, even though they're minor, there's still people in the building. What I liked what Sean McDermott said was that it was just a different set of eyes.
Yeah.
It's a different perspective for these new coordinators. Obviously, Babbage has been around. He talked about how he played. He can see the defense in 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions because he has coached all the different tiers. I liked all of that. And the fact that, Joe Brady and all these things that he can implement now with a full offseason. He said he only had part of it. And now you're going to get to see the full Joe Brady experience. So I liked all of those, what he had to say about the coordinators. What about you?
So it was good. I mean, Sean was up at the podium first, and then we got an opportunity to talk with him one-on-one. And
it's great.
He was really good. Talked about Tre Whites. You're going to hear all of this in a second. Talked about what it's like with Tre dealing with his injury and coming back. Talked about this game itself, the way offense has changed.
Yeah.
Teams have changed, the way defenses have changed. And, of course, I had to ask him about the Super Bowl. So all that is coming up. Check it out right now, our one-on-one interview with the Bills head coach and a new member of the team, at least for the day, Sean McDermott. All right, I've got the newest member of the Buffalo Plus team here, Sean McDermott.
Right.
His other job, is head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Let's talk about your defensive coordinator. Now, you said you still haven't decided yet if Bobby Babbage will call the plays or how it works. I think there's a sense from people sometimes that it's like, this guy calls the plays, this guy calls the plays, and it's a sort of a one-man thing.
Right.
It doesn't work that way on a pro team, does it?
Not always. There's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, right? So there does have to be one person that's going to call the play into our middle linebacker, whether that's Bobby or myself or a blend of that. It remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for the team.
And in terms of the setup for that, all the things that go into it during the week, my guess is even if Bobby does call the plays, it's not like you're closing the door and not part of this defense, right?
No, I'm going to be involved. Bobby's a first-time coordinator, a good young coach. But like anything, there's going to be blind spots, there's going to be growing pains, and I'm going to be there to help him, and that's part of my job.
Part of this job is having veteran players that you've trusted for years, and one of them is Tre Whites, a guy you have a close relationship with. But how difficult is it in circumstances where you have to show patience? He's coming off a serious injury, but also at a point you guys sort of need to know where he is and how that works, and you have that relationship with him. How difficult is that for a coach to have that patience, but also having that faith in that player?
Well, we have tremendous faith in Tre. I love Tre. I love his family. It gets hard. These are humans, right? And people, and we go way back, right? Our relationship together, our experience together, and so any decisions that are made are tough decisions, right? So you don't take them lightly. You take them very seriously. You put everything you can into them to make the best decision that you need to make for the team. And so ton of respect for Tre, and I know he's working his tail off.
You may have to make decisions to play younger players. You've done that in the past. I want to know, what's the thing you notice most that earns a player the trust from you that you need to put them out there on the field?
When they go out there and execute, right? When they go out there and do the job that they're asked to do, and really it's not just the trust with me, it's the trust with their teammates. When their teammates trust them, it makes a coach trust them, right? Or a teammate comes to say, Coach, we trust him, put him out there. You know, all that works in their favor. And so when you can go out there and execute the job description, that's where trust is built.
I think of a guy like Terrell Bernard as well as he played for you. Could he have done that as a rookie? I mean, you had Tremaine here, and I think sometimes fans, even media, think, well, the guy could have been out there doing it the year before.
A year ago.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to learn in that position, and you see the growth he made between year one and year two.
Right.
Could they do it, or does it sometimes just take a little time and then you see that talent come through?
Well, the light comes on at different times for different people. I've had players where it comes on in year one, like we saw this year with Dalton, right, or with Saibo. Then you have players where it's come on in year two, and then some in year three. But you don't want to wait too long. You can't afford to wait too long in the modern salary cap era. So I think the key with TB was he really had to learn two positions his first season. He had to play Will and Mike. Because of Tremaine and Matt's situation. And then when he got in, he actually played Will linebacker when he started against the Jets, at the Jets. And so this past offseason, was a chance for him to learn the middle linebacker position only, and he did a phenomenal job.
When you look at the offense for this team, I think you were on to something for the last little bit of time. At least I sensed of seeing the game become a little more physical, maybe back to the way it used to be. Maybe even though everybody wants explosive plays, there's been less explosive plays. The game has changed a little bit. Are you sensing that as both on the defensive side and a guy who needs to see your offense get more of that? Teams try to take that away, and you have to approach it differently than maybe even 2 or 3 years ago.
For sure. With the game's evolving, and we have to evolve with it. I think some of the things you're seeing are, more split safety on defense, which forces offenses to be more patient. It forces offenses to be okay running the football. You're seeing more zone defense over man defense anymore. And so you have to have the ability to run the football. You have to have the ability to throw the ball short and have it go long or medium at least to get some form of an explosive, because that is also what accompanies scoring plays and scoring drives.
All right, last thing. We know about your respect for Andy Reid and all the great things, but let's be honest. You're tired of seeing him win, right? I mean, he's gotten his titles. It's time for somebody else, right?
Well, it is. And Andy's a great coach. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. But I can say, hey, we're out to win. We're not here to make friends. At the end of the day, we have that friendship, Andy and I, and we have that respect. It's time for somebody else to win the Super Bowl. I mean, you've got to respect what they've done. Mm-hmm. And no matter if it's Andy or anybody else, it always leaves a pit in your stomach and leaves you frustrated, and it's painful. But you try and learn from it and move the team forward.
Enough titles, enough cheeseburgers. He's happy now, right?
I think so.
All right, we'll end up saying, all right, Sean, great job. We'll have him on anytime possible here on Buffalo Plus. That's going to do it for the head coach of the Bills. I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for watching on Buffalo Plus.
Great. I love off-season Sean. This is Sean's time to kind of relax. We've joked around this as Brandon Beane's season. Behind the scenes, we work really hard on our setups. I do a lot of the technical side.
Yes.
To make this look good.
Just go, that looks good.
The lights and everything. I wanted Sean to hold his own mic, because a lot of times you'll do interviews.
And it's like this, yes. So when we first started doing this channel, we used one mic. And it was,
Jenna was handing it all over the place.
and then we're like, why don't we use multiple mics so we each get to hold a mic?
We
Now
get a
that's
cool mic
normally
flag.
for all of us.
Yes.
But Dan said, how about if we have Sean do that? And I'm like, he's not going to want to hold the mic for the interview. Sean was like, I got
So
this.
I set up the setup.
Yeah.
I set it all up, and Mike goes, he's not going to hold the mic. Like, stop.
Not that it's like he
Stop.
thinks
goes,
he's beyond that. I just think it was like, well, no, you just interviewed me. Oh, no, he was ready.
He was like, this is great.
Yeah.
And obviously, newest member.
He's asking about
he
gear.
He wants merch.
Yeah.
He was going to do another live hit with us
And
afterwards.
I'm like, no, don't worry, Sean. I got to do something else.
Yeah. Sean, you do a lot. We got this. So Mike owes me a beer
Yeah, I
because
do.
I bet him that Sean would be totally fine with holding his own microphone like a grown adult, and he was. And he almost gave you gruff for being like, I can hold my own mic. I got
It wasn't about him not being able to do it. It's just he's not normally asked to do that because he's being interviewed.
It was awesome.
Oh, he was great. No, he was great. I wish you guys, you get a little sense of it.
Yeah.
I wish you get a chance, and we're fortunate to do this. And it's not just with Sean. It was with Rex Ryan for me before that and all the other coaches. When
37
you see
years.
them talk like people,
Yeah.
you realize that they are people. And he's flawed, like any other coach. He has some things, but like he has a lot on his plate. He absolutely has a lot on his plate, like all head coaches. But this year he coached the defense. He's on the competition committee. Like he's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you see him, that's why we say off-season mode.
Yeah, and I think that goes for players. We've talked about a lot of people consider football players to be robots, that they don't have feelings, that they don't have lives or relationships outside the field that affect them also. So I think that was interesting. And I just asked Sean off to the side, just the fact of now he's on the competition committee. He was the head coach and the defensive coordinator and all of these things. And you always tell this story. He tells a lot of them. But the one that I always really stuck out to me was that you were interviewing or talking to Greg Williams.
Yeah, it was his first year as the Bills head coach. He had been the Titans defensive coordinator. And he said, and I think it was in a moment of frustration, he was like, I'm not doing any of the things that got me this job. Because at that time, he was not calling he was heavily involved in the defense, but he wasn't calling it. And I think he was just learning what it's like to be a head coach in the NFL.
And so that was kind of what I was picking Sean's brain. He did the podium for a half hour. He then did one-on-ones with all of the local media stations that were here. Then he was on a phone call, all of these things.
He only held the microphone for one station.
Damn right.
For Buffalo Plus.
Damn right. But I kind of said, like, now you're on the competition committee. Like, is it crazy the fact that you get into coaching to build a system and to coach a defense and all these things, and now all of the other stuff, and he's like, you won't even believe it. Also down to the point of, hey, there's a snowstorm at the end of this week. How do you handle it? All of these things.
And by the way, we just want you guys to know, he wasn't whining. He was just saying, like, this is part of what it is. And look, nobody told him he had to call plays on defense. Nobody told him he had to accept being on the competition
committee. He said he actually really
committee.
enjoyed getting his hands kind of back into the coaching.
And
of
the
it.
competition committee, look, if you're in the NFL, like, when
a
they
goal.
ask a coach to be on there, there's only, I mean, it used to be like the Don Shulas of the world. And,
a big honor.
Mike Tomlin, I think, is on there.
Now,
I assume,
Tomlin got added with McDermott
Yeah.
because of Vrabel and Belichick not being on it.
Oh, yeah.
So the two spots opened up.
That's interesting. It's interesting that Vrabel was on there before McDermott. But regardless of how it ended up being, I think that was cool. Now, a couple of things he talked about. In the interview, he talked about Tre White. I don't know if we can
might be
read
right.
into it. Well, only because, like, I asked him, and you heard it, you have this relationship with the guy. But also, but you also have to think, like, I got to be patient enough to give him his chance to come back. But the league moves fast, man. Free agency starts in a few weeks. They have a roster bonus. Like, all that stuff goes on.
It's funny because of the comparison between the veteran player that's coming off of an injury, and you also talked about how do you know when the young player is ready?
Yeah.
And that what did he say? The lights flip switches for different players at different times. So
And he also said when they are ready and their teammates know they're ready.
Yep.
That's a big part of it, too.
yeah. So it's all of that goes into factor. I thought it was very telling that Sean understands that. I guess I kind of brushed it aside as like, if Tre's healthy, he's back. And it's not that simple. And Sean talks about, like, that was telling to me. Again, we can look into it how you want, but it was one of those things that, like, there's a hard decision. Push comes to shove one way or another on Tre White. The money that's due, his age, his performance, his injury history, all of that has to be factored in, on top of the relationship that he has and the connection and bond that he has with Sean McDermott and this team.
Now, not in my interview, but at the podium, he talked about Jordan Poyer. Very highly, I thought, talked about Jordan Poyer and what he's brought to this team.
What did Joe Biscali say?
I can't remember the exact phrase. And Sean said... Institutional knowledge, yes.
Yes.
Way to go, Joe. Man, Joe's a bright guy.
Yeah, and Sean complimented him. He was
Sean
like,
complimented him on
great
the
word.
but he does know it all. And I think he is evolved into maybe a different player for this team.
He hasn't heard from Micah Hyde. That was another thing that he talked about at the podium.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things we've talked about. I understand Poyer's contract and all of these things and where they are salary cap wise. I'm not going to get into that now. But I did mention it at times. We've talked about it, and maybe it's more on social media. Sean talked for about 2 minutes about the importance of a safety.
Yeah.
It's a position that he played. He's had Hall of Fame safeties for some of his defenses at all these levels.
He had Brian Dawkins. Couldn't be more different of a player
Correct.
than Micah Hyde, but a guy who's got a gold jacket.
But just the sense of, I think it's very tough for Sean to have 2 new safeties. And I think that's part of what Joe was getting at with, hey, if you are breaking in another safety, it's really nice to have a guy that's been in the system for 7 years.
When you have a team that needs help in those positions, you would bring in a guy like Jordan Poyer.
Yes.
That's why I say his role may have evolved. Maybe he's not playing every snap in a game. Maybe you need to draft a young safety, maybe sign another veteran, like however they decide to do that, because you want to get the most out of Poyer if he's still one of your guys there. So I thought that was interesting. And the thing he said about Terrell Bernard, I mean, again, that's why I said, like, he laughed when I said, like, most people would think, well, why wasn't he playing the year before?
Could have.
Yeah. Some players, it takes a little longer. That's a tough position. He even talked about Bernard playing the other position and then moving
the Will
over
and Mike,
to play, depending on where he ended up playing. So I find that all kind of interesting in terms of the way they think of these guys. But that's about when everybody's healthy, they're under contract, all those things. I'm sorry, folks, but those numbers, money, injuries, all those things play a huge role in the way a team approaches free agency and the draft. They have to. At some point, they move on from players.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how they end up doing it.
Sean also talks about the most important thing here. We joke around underwear Olympics, who's the fastest, who's the strongest, who can jump the highest and the farthest. Sean talked about it, and I think a lot of people say Sean doesn't know how to use rookies and he doesn't play rookies. And then you look at Osiris Torrance, who played every single snap, and then you looked at what Dalton Kincaid did. You asked him in the interview, like, how do you know when he's earned that respect? And he talked about the teammates.
Yeah.
So he talks about here, it was the perspective of, you're not looking always for the most talented player. You're looking for the player with the right DNA to fit your culture and the need of the team.
Yeah, they obviously have to be talented. There's a level of talent.
But he said all 341 players that come here, they're talented.
Right.
That's not the question.
But that's what they kind of want to see, because times get tough. Guys get banged up.
Yeah.
Do you have it in you to study? Do you have it in you to prepare? Because a lot of times guys can play in college. I won't say solely on talent.
100%.
But they can. They can dominate with their talent. That doesn't happen very often in the NFL. So it's really interesting to see the way they go about it. This team has found guys who are good culture fits for the most part.
I agree.
Not all of them, not everybody. You don't bat 1,000, and they've made some mistakes, but we'll see what ends up happening. And then, again, like I said, Brandon Beane, big year for him.
Yep.
Big draft, big free agency period. Oh, and poof, $30 million came to the cap. Look at that. NFL created it out of thin air. We're just going to raise it $30 million. It was $30 million, right?
It's fugazi. It's not real. It's not real.
Cap is not real.
Yeah. One last thing.
Yes.
Gabe Davis, talked about glowing remarks about the human being, what he's meant to this team.
What he brought to them, especially where he was drafted.
Yep. As a captain.
I'm not going to make a big deal that he did say was, because the tense, he was referring to him.
Yeah.
But I think Gabe's going to get paid by somebody.
Yeah. It is also funny, we made the comment, you've been here a lot longer than I have.
37.
Sean couldn't believe it. Sean couldn't believe it.
He goes, how old are you? I said, 45. That would have been a good
And then
line.
he goes, Dan, how old are you? 32. And he goes, wow.
Yeah. Wow. He goes, Dan, how old are you?
There was no questions about a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like
the Bills have a good quarterback.
Just think about that. There are so many teams coming here needing a quarterback, or question marks around their quarterback, or they're just stuck with a quarterback. The Bills are set. For the window's not closed. We've done that bit, but all those things. But yeah,
window closed. I heard another guy say the window's not closed. The windows are open.
We will talk tomorrow. We will preview dinner maybe. We will preview Brandon Beane. We'll talk about him. We'll have another one-on-one with him. And then we'll talk to some media, national media around here.
Yeah, we're going to get a lot of opinions around the division, all those things. There's plenty of stuff. We will keep you occupied in the off season. And if you got anything, comment. If there's something you want to know, let us know. We'll try to find out for you.
You will be as full with Bills content as we will be tomorrow after St. Elmo's.
Dan is more excited about St. Elmo's than he is about opening day next season. It's not even close, right?
Facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just once a year.
Once a year, steak time. All right. For Dan Fates, I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for watching. Again, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. For Jenna Cottrell, who is back at home during this week because she knows how much we enjoy Combine. And for Dan Fates, I'm Mike Catalana. Oh, and for Sean McDermott of Buffalo Plus, I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Buffalo Plus.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.